It was another thrilling finish in the Xfinity Series, but man, it got crazy at the end. Look at the caution chart here. A lot of cautions there at the end, a lot of wrecks, a lot of spins, a lot of whatever you can call these cautions at the end. It was a typical late race wreck fest, but we had all sorts of chaos in this race today. We saw rain tires at the beginning of the day. We saw late race wrecks, and yes, technically, Shane Van Gisbergen was included in one, but it was minimal damage and he was able to stay out and not really have any impact from that damage. So we're going to talk about his day as we always do. But where are we? Well, NASCAR is up in New Hampshire, up in the northeastern United States of America. New Hampshire, known for its beautiful scenery, and the Cup Series winner gets a giant lobster. Seafood known up in the Northeast, specifically lobster, crabs, all that stuff. The fun seafood, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But now for the information about New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I think it's the flattest track we go to all season long in terms of the ovals. 1.058 miles, so a mile-long track. In terms of the kilometers, that is equal to 1.7 kilometers. As I said, not a lot of banking, progressive banking from 2 degrees to 7 degrees. Multi-grooved racetrack, 3-ish lanes, I want to say. Maybe a little bit more, maybe like 3.5. That might be optimistic. Anyways, coming into this race weekend, yeah, it was expected to rain. A lot. Honestly, I did not think I would be sitting here right now at this exact time making this race recap description thing, because I really thought this was going to be a Monday race. I really thought both races this weekend would get rained out to Monday and Tuesday, but all right, it wasn't. There was a little bit, well, actually, there was not a delay. They actually moved up the start of the race 30 minutes to give them a little bit more of a window. But due to NASCAR now racing in the rain, well, in the damp conditions on certain ovals, we were actually able to start this race before the originally scheduled time of 3:36 p.m. Eastern time. So actually, we got this thing in a little bit earlier than expected. But as I said, rain tires on an oval. Have you ever heard of that before? I think it's the first time in Xfinity Series history that we've seen rain tires on an oval. If not, it's only one of the second or third time in Xfinity history. NASCAR has obviously had rain tires on road courses, as many other racing series do, but the ovals are different. Obviously, these ovals reach extremely high speeds, and they keep at those extremely high speeds, so it's very dangerous to run in the rain with the spray and the wet conditions and the lack of grip. And also, it's just very difficult to make a tire that will, have any sort of grip on some of these ovals. So like a Talladega, a super speedway with 33-degree banking, a Charlotte with 24-degree banking, even something like, a track like Darlington with 15, 16, 17, whatever their banking is. It's very difficult to get a tire that works on banking and at high speeds at the same time. But in the last couple of years, NASCAR and Goodyear have worked on developing a tire that works on flat ovals, flat short ovals, I should specify. And New Hampshire measures up to that specification in a sense. These tires can be used at Martinsville, a track we've already been to, Richmond, a track we've already been to. In fact, in the Cup Series race back at the beginning of the season at Richmond, the race started on rain tires. So, as I said, these flat, short ovals that are a little bit slower than the big ovals and also flat being a big part of that, they can use rain tires if the conditions are right. They can't race in a downpour. They honestly can't even race in a light rain. They don't have windshield wipers on the cars. They don't have the defoggers inside the car. So they are not prepared for an actual rainstorm or even a light rain. But if the track is damp and they can run it without spraying a bunch, they can race in damp conditions. And so therefore, they were able to start this race ahead of schedule. Because if they didn't have these rain tires, we may be sitting here about an hour later, maybe a little bit more than that, because ultimately the slick tires just can't work. But as I said, we started the race on these rain tires. Practice and qualifying was rained out completely. So Shane Van Gisbergen, for the second time this season, goes into a race with 0 laps of practice, 0 laps of qualifying. It's just, all right, buddy, get on out there and race this thing and hope it sticks in turn 1. And of course, it wasn't just, hey, buddy, get out there and hope it sticks in turn 1. It's, hey, buddy, this is your first ever time in the Xfinity Series on rain tires, and it's on an oval you've never raced at before, and it's a type of oval you've never really raced at before. So get on in there. Go. Don't crash it. And, well, he didn't crash it. As I said, started 28th in this race. Actually made his way up through the field a bit in the opening 15 laps. He made his way up as high as 22nd, fell back to 24th, and then at about lap 15, the caution was thrown. And here's my problem with this is, look, I know NASCAR, they are in the early stages of running races in the rain or races in wet conditions on wet weather tires on the ovals. And I understand they want to play it safe. They want to give these teams an opportunity to learn what it's like to race on the wet conditions on ovals, and they want to know how the tires wear, how quickly they go away once it dries out. But man, the strategy aspect could be so much more fun if we just let it play out. Let the teams gamble. Let the teams decide if they want to come onto pit road early in the run once they think it's dry enough. Let the teams stay out if they think it's going to rain in a couple of minutes and keep the track wet enough. Let the teams make this decision in terms of the tires that they want to use. Once again, I understand it's early in running these wet weather tires on an oval, but at some point we got to stop holding the team's hands, and we got to let go and say, all right, you are big boys and big girls now. You can figure this out yourself. If you wreck it, sorry. Your own fault, or, it's your own fault in a sense. NASCAR's had issues on ovals before with letting the race run too long when it starts raining, and then suddenly the whole field's wrecking at Daytona. The leaders are wrecking at New Hampshire. This race 3 years ago, they sent them into the green flag. When it was raining, the top 6 essentially wiped out. So they've had issues before. I understand why they are cautious, and let's be honest, if they weren't cautious, if they didn't mandate tires, they mandate if you run the wets or if you run the slick tires, they mandate which tire you run, which is why they threw the caution on lap 15. They said, all right, everyone, you have to switch to the slick tires. And once again, I understand why, but at some point, we have to let go of the team's hands. We have to tell them, you guys are professional engineers. You're professional race teams, professional people with degrees. You got to figure this out yourself. The drivers are professionals. They're not going to run out there till the tires blow off, or if they're on slick tires, they're not going to drive it and wreck it every single turn. These guys know what they're doing. At some point, we've got to let them go. We've got to let them figure this out themselves, because it really could have made for a very exciting stage 1. But as I said, lap 15, they threw the competition caution, allowed the teams to come in. Well, they didn't allow the teams. They forced the teams to come in and put on those slick tires. As I said, Shane Van Gisbergen was able to make his way up to 24th on those wet weather tires. A very good start. Probably his best oval start to date that's not a super speedway, but ultimately was able to get inside the top 20 after the pit stops, but then fell back on the slick tires, fell back into the mid-20s again. And there was a caution, actually, about 15 laps later. So this first stage was 45 laps. And about lap 30, there was a caution for an incident on track. I think someone stalled their car or someone's engine blew, something like that. And Shane Van Gisbergen, along with about 10, 15 other cars, maybe a little bit less than 15, 10 to 13, I think is the right number, opted to pit, put on fresh tires. About 15 laps had been put on these tires. So why not come in, get some fresh tires, set yourself up for stage 2, good track position? Well, he came out and, as expected, this group of cars started at the tail end of the field because, strategy, as I said. Well, there was a caution pretty quick. Within the next 2 to 3 laps, someone spun out. I think it was Parker Kligerman. Another 3 to 4 laps with a caution. And about the first half of the field was split in terms of their decisions. Some stayed out, some pitted, and ultimately, I feel like that kind of screwed Shane Van Gisbergen's strategy. They had a good idea. They had a good track position strategy. It's just that there was another caution there that kind of put them back in the field. And so ultimately they restarted 19th or so, and they finished stage 1 in 24th. Starting stage 2, once again, the pit crew was able to pick him up some positions. They opted to pit again. They were already back there. Why not? Let's just pit again. And they restarted back inside the top 20, I want to say, but once again kind of fell back into the mid-20s. And this is just basically, from this point on, it's a pretty typical Shane Van Gisbergen oval. Pit crew picks you up a few spots. You fall back a little bit because you're still learning the racetrack for the first time. And then by stage 3, you start picking up positions. So ultimately, he finished stage 2 in 24th again. Nothing really eventful. And then stage 3 is when he started to pick it up. As I said, a typical Shane Van Gisbergen oval. You know, you run in the early to mid-20s in terms of the majority of the first 2 stages. Stage 3, okay, I figured this track out a little bit. Now I'm going to start picking them off one by one. So restarted stage 3, once again about that 19th to 21st spot. And he was able to make his way up through the field. He was able to get inside the top 20. He was able to stay inside the top 20 and really ran 16th to 18th the entire third stage. And the green flag pit stops are happening with about 30 to go. Everyone is cycled through except for like 2 cars, and they pit not Travis. Travis is the dad. Carson Quapple and Jesse Love, they pit, and as soon as they are done pitting, a caution comes out. So all of a sudden, everyone has about 15 laps or so on their tires, except for Carson Quapple and Jesse Love, who opt to stay out after the next caution, and everyone else decides to pit. Once again, Shane Van Gisbergen sitting about 16th to 18th at this time. And this is when the race gets freaky. Chandler Smith spun, Haley Deegan spun 2 or 3 times, a few other people spun and crashed, but the one I want to focus on is the one that Shane Van Gisbergen was involved in. Up near the front of the field, aggressive moves were being made. It was a typical late race Xfinity restart. People just start putting the nose where it shouldn't go. And Sam Mayer got into his teammate, Sammy Smith, who got into the 19. Let me see if I can pronounce this name correctly. Justin Bonsignor. Once again, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And that stacked up the entire field. Everyone started spinning out. And Austin Hill starts spinning across the racetrack. You will not believe who hit Austin Hill when he was spinning across the racetrack. Yes, it was Shane Van Gisbergen. It wasn't even a hit. It was a little boop. Actually, it was 2 little boops. He just kind of hit him once just a little bit, and then he was braking, let off the brake, and it was not a lot. Austin Hill said he felt like something in the left front was broke, and maybe it was. You know, he had a ton of damage from that crash. He hit the wall. AJ Allmendinger hit him. Someone else hit him, and then SVG hit him. So I'm sure the damage came before, but it would be a little bit funny considering those two's history if Shane Van Gisbergen, trying to avoid the wreck, just boops him that much and it breaks the left front. Obviously, Austin Hill wasn't accusing him of anything. He was just saying, like, oh, here's the damage I got in the crash, and, the left front feels a little bit jacked up. But I just found that funny in a sense because of their history. Other than that, it was irrelevant. There was no bigger story to it, just an Xfinity race stack up. But at the end there, we had a 3-wide pass for the win. Christopher Bell is 4 for 4 in the Xfinity Series at New Hampshire. Do you understand how difficult it is to go 4 for 4 at any racetrack in any series in the NASCAR national level? What Christopher Bell has done at New Hampshire is insane. But anyways, Shane Van Gisbergen ends up finishing 19th. As I said, it felt like a pretty typical day in terms of, the ebbs and flows of where he went from, 17th or so on the restart, falling back to 23rd, 24th. And then by stage 3, he restarts 20th and he makes his way up to 16th. That's about where he finishes. So 19th place day. It got a little bit eventful there. We had some wet weather tires that were used on an oval. For the first time in his career, Shane Van Gisbergen has raced on a wet racetrack on an oval. So yeah, that's essentially the day for the Xfinity Series. Sheldon Creed has the record for most runner-up finishes in the Xfinity Series without a win. He's got 10 of them now. Cole Custer, man, he is cursed in the Xfinity Series this year. Sheldon Creed is cursed in the Xfinity Series in general. Cole Custer is cursed in the Xfinity Series in 2024. Christopher Bell is essentially the opposite of cursed at New Hampshire. So Carson Kvapil, another top 5. Ryan Sieg, a 6th place finish. Corey Heim, another top 10 finish. But man, you got to feel bad for Cole Custer, dominated this day. Ultimately falls short again, but I think he's the points leader, so he's got that going for him. But yeah, eventful day. As I said in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, did not think we were going to get this thing in today, but we did. I'm thankful. So Cup Series race tomorrow. Make sure to tune in for that. If I missed anything in Stage 3, I meant to say this earlier. If I missed anything in Stage 3, it's because my TV providers decided to do this. So yeah, that was frustrating. It happened at the beginning of Stage 3 till about 20 to go in the race. And this was happening between 5 seconds and 2 minutes. It would just freeze, channel unavailable. I'm very mad at my TV provider. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow when we talk about the Cup Series race, or Monday.